Hey, I got a special guest with me.
Who do we got here? What do we got going on here, Wes?
It's my grandson Bryson.
Your grandson, man. You're too young to be a grandpa.
Say
What's the deal
hi.
here?
Say hi. Say hi. Say hi, Wes.
What's going on, buddy? How old are you?
Oh, he's not. He's just. He'll be 2 in November.
2 in November. Nice.
What's the matter? Hmm? Give me a kiss. Give pop kiss. Thank you. All right, let's get this done.
Man, what's going on? Let's talk about this. What do we got going on here? We've talked about this a little bit, and we have decided that we're gonna do a little podcast coaching. We're gonna help
Yes, we
people
did.
out. Cece's in the house, and I don't know if you have your chat box on, Wise, but we'll just kind of go through there. We'll talk a little bit.
Yes, I see Cece. Hi, Cece. How you doing?
We have we have to just kind of help some other people kind of get started with some podcasting stuff. Um, let's wait and see if we can get a few more people in here. But what did you have going on this week? Did you do an episode? You just got back from Aruba, right?
Yes, I was in Aruba about 2 weeks ago, but I've actually been going live on not Facebook, on Podbean, because it's Podbean offers a live feature as well. So that's something I felt that I needed to start taking advantage of.
And you've been doing that. It sounds I've been seeing your posts. So you've been talking about doing this every day. Is that what you're trying to do?
That's my goal, is to do it every day, and I gotta actually start going and do my TikTok too as well. But I think it's can be done with me just doing the lives.
Yeah.
And I can use that to use on TikTok, the audio at least anyway.
Yeah, and that's a big thing I think that I've noticed with myself is like trying to promote mine. I do like one clip a week is pretty much how I do it, and I don't do the clip. I need to find someone to make me some clips because I just got too much going on.
Okay, Cece. So to answer your question, is Podbean better than Anchor? I feel anything is better than Anchor. Personally, everybody thinks because Anchor is free that it's better. It's not. Free is not always better.
Yeah.
So I suggest people who are looking for platforms, this is a tip. If you're looking for a platform, do your research. Find out what entails using this platform, who owns the content, and definitely just do your research. That's one of the key things that I recommend for anybody who wants to find out what platform. Do your research, find out which of these platforms fit what you want to do with your podcast.
Yep. And I think Wise is right on there. I think Anchor is a good starting point. I never used Anchor. I started out straight up to hello Michelle, how you doing? I went straight into Buzzsprouts, which does have some free stuff. And I think does Podbean have a free?
Yes, it has a free thing, but the only thing with that, again, you're limited on how much you could upload a month. So, but if you're only gonna do one upload a month, then you can go the free route. But since I'm someone who records frequently and want to put content up frequently, so that's why I went the pay route.
Yep, same here. And I started out paying, but I do have, we ran Tank in the Mouth on the free platform. And the funny thing about that, with Buzzsprouts anyway, and I don't know what Podbean does, but it limits you to 2 hours a month. And then it also, after, I think it's like 60 days, it deletes the episode. Whereas like my Shaping Success episodes are on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, everywhere, totaled out for the 150 hours or whatever that we did.
So do we plan what we talk about? Me personally, no. I like it to be more natural, more authentic. I'm not saying being scripted is not being authentic, but I just feel that I don't like being scripted. I like being able to speak my mind at that moment on whatever the question I may ask my guest or whatever I might have on my mind at that moment.
Yeah, and so Wise and I both do interview shows, and for me, kind of like Wise was saying, I used to plan it all out, and I decided not to anymore because I think that it's important that it's an authentic question, that it comes from me. People like, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I've been told this millions of times. People like the authenticity of the questions that I ask. Well, I'm in here talking to myself in my head as I'm listening to someone tell me what they're answering my question, and I'm forming new questions. And I don't think that the questions are that authentic if I'm sitting here reading off my phone like a high school kid, or reading off of a piece of paper that I had created to kind of go through it. Now I have some questions that, like, if it gets kind of slow, like today I had an interview that got, it wasn't quite as engaging. Partly my fault because I'm sitting here listening. So my house is torn apart, and I have no door on the laundry room, which is right over here, and no door on the other bedroom over there. And there's a water softener in there that's making a bunch of noise. And when you start getting really into the sound of things, and wanting the quality of audio to be really good, you start to notice things. And that bugged me so much that it kind of took away from the interview. So
That's one thing I know I've noticed since I've been podcasting is when I when I listen to my recordings and stuff, I pick up on everything. I'll pick up on the and stuff that I feel like, oh, I need to take that out. Then the banging of the mic, because you'll always bang your mic.
right.
you always do something
I just
that'll
bumped the
make a
table and
pop
it
in
started
the mic.
shaking.
Yeah, but it's life. It happens. Things happen, and you just got to go with it. You can't really stress yourself out. Like, technical difficulties are gonna happen. Everyone has had them. Sometimes you might even forget to press record.
Yeah, that's happened. We're recording though because we got people asking us questions, so we're good. I've done it before. I've had guests.
Oh, you ain't the only one. I've done it a couple of times. So.
Yeah. I had a guest so tonight's One Drink Wednesday. I usually do it with my friend Jay, but he's out of town, so I'm doing it with Bob Chat. And Bob Chat came on probably 2 episodes ago, and this was how the interview went. He's a podcaster as well, but he was so excited to be on the podcast that he started interviewing himself for my podcast. And I was like, Bob, let me ask the questions, bud. So there's things that happen. You got to restart sometimes. It just happens.
Sometimes you have guests that'll send you questions that they would like for you to ask them, and it depends. If I don't really have any questions I want to ask them, I'll use it. But for the most part, I don't take requests for questions.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I get these emails when you start podcasting long enough, and CC will address your question in a second here. But when I podcast and they send me those, the first thing I do is say, hey, I'm interested in having your person on as a guest, but I want you to understand something. This is my show, and this is what it's about. And if they can't fit into my format, then please just, we just won't do it. And most times they're okay with that. Just set the precedence up front, because there's these big time stars who you sometimes get. I don't know that I think I might have had one person email me and say, this is what so-and-so would like to discuss with you. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. He's going to discuss with me what I want to discuss. And if he's not okay with that, then I don't want him on my show. And they're usually pretty good about it.
Yeah. I've had some really cool guests. I've had guests where I've had technical difficulties, and they've taken over the show while I've tried to come back online, and but they were podcasters, so they knew what to do. They know technical difficulties happen, and it just transitioned smoothly. So
yeah, that's the way it works. It's nice to have those types of people. All right, so. Definitely. CC says, I use Anchor. I record my messages through a voice recorder. Sometimes I use music on Anchor, but I normally play worship music in the background so I don't get copyrighted. So one thing, CC, and I'm going to ask you this question just because I'm not certain, but do you play music when you're talking? Is it kind of a soothing type deal? How do you do it? Because if you don't want to get copyrighted, there's lots of copyright-free music out there that you can find. And I'm pretty sure Wise, it's free, isn't it? There's a bunch of free sites.
That's a bunch of free sites you can use. Me personally, I do use some free sites, but I have Epidemic Sound because of what I do and because of the station and everything else. But yeah, there's plenty of free music that you can go out there and do and download and get. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. I know that like my intro to my podcast, Jay does the voice on it, but the music was from Motion Array, and you can go in there and you can get free copyrighted or uncopyrighted music or whatever. You basically pay to use it, but you can use it. So
yeah,
that's a good way to do it. One thing I would recommend, CC, as far as music goes, it's kind of to each his own. And I don't know your audience, demographic, how big you are, but a lot of times music in the background will sometimes take away from the message. So I know that, I, excuse me, I've listened to a few podcasts where there's a lot of music or a lot of stuff going on in the background, and sometimes that will take away from it. And I don't necessarily know. I need you to just, why don't you send me the link and I'm going to listen to a couple episodes. It's been a while since I've heard yours, CC.
sorry about that. I got my
Nope,
little guest.
you're
What
good.
are you doing?
Yeah, sometimes you instrumental, yeah. And I mean, and that's one of the things, CC. She says sometimes she uses instrumentals, play while she prays because the concussion she had can't have music playing while I talk. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, there's all these niches, right? And there's certain niches that music is good in the background, calming, soothing. You're praying. You're trying to use things to get people to just kind of calm down, and so music is helpful at some point. Let's
Oh, how
see.
did my very first podcast go? Oh man, it was 5 minutes long, and I had been wanting to do a podcast for forever. I had purchased a little Behringer studio, and I just kept messing with it for over a year. Like I would record, delete, record, delete, record, delete, and finally I was just sitting here with my nephew. We was talking on the phone, and he had already started his YouTube channel and everything, and I decided just to press record. And it was me speaking into the mic, holding the phone because I didn't even have the proper jacks to connect the phone to the mixer. So I'm holding the phone so you could hear him speak, and that's how I recorded my first episode. And from there, it just hasn't stopped. Now I've been recording for over 2 years. I've probably recorded 300 episodes in those 2 years.
You don't number them, huh, Wise? I think I don't number them either. I number them, but by season.
I
So it's
number them
like,
when I put them up,
yeah.
when I released them.
Right.
But as far as like how many I know, how many I have in the tank, in like in my, I probably got like three, right. This right here. I have these are episodes actually,
Okay.
and I have two of them filled here. I have another one that's plugged into my Roadcaster right now that probably can hold, I don't know, probably another 500 episodes.
Holy
It's
smokes.
probably got 500 hours.
Yeah, I was trying to look on mine right now to see if I could figure out how many episodes I have, but it doesn't. It doesn't have. I'd have to go through and count them. It looks like. Let's see here. Stats. Maybe. Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna tell you the first episode
Marco,
that
hello,
I
lo
did
chavo que tiene.
was it was on an iPhone.
Déjame la puerta, por favor.
One thing that I want to address here real quick, and I know that we use the term podcast um, loosely, because podcast in my mind, Wise, you might have a different idea on this, but podcast to me is audio only. So like this is a video thing, and what I do usually is I'll do a video and then convert it into the audio. So my YouTube video, I don't really consider that as podcast stats because it's not really.
And you know what it is? It's because like YouTube isn't really right now. They're working on something for podcasters, but YouTube and everything else that streams aren't really for podcasting. They're more for YouTube is more of an educational thing. They want you
Uh
to
huh.
put educational stuff on there, and so it's hard to really build up a podcast on YouTube. And like you said, yeah, I consider it to be audio as well. So, but the reason you use the video is more content. That's what it's really for. It's really a tool for you to really use to help build up your audio podcast because you can put snippets of the video and grab people's attention and make them want to go to the audio podcast.
Yeah, and that's exactly what. So I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit, but I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, and he was like he's the
Yes.
person who inspired me to have a podcast. He's the person who's inspired me to be on social media. He's the one who did that, and he's always talking about, um, you need to be putting out 20 pieces of content a day. So you can think about what 20 pieces of content a day looks like. Is that an Instagram post? Is it 2 Instagram posts? Is it 2 TikToks, 2 Reels? Is it a video? And what you can do with this. So Wise and I are recording this on video right now. We have audio. We talked about it. We discussed, you know what? We don't want to do any more work than other than just doing a live. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a live. We're going to do it the first Wednesday of every month, like this, where we can interact with people and kind of help podcast coach them. But I'm going to take this video and I'm going to send it over to Wise. I have it on my computer. And if Wise wants to clip it and cut it, and if I want to clip it and cut it and say, hey, go watch this video on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, you can do that. And you can create pieces of content out of it. If you've seen on TikTok, Wise does it as well as I do. But like, I'll put a clip of my most current interview every Monday on TikTok, on Instagram, which goes to Facebook. I need to be better about putting it on Twitter. I don't really get into Twitter, but this is actually streaming on Twitter right now. So that's kind of the thing. It's building more content and pushing more out there to get more and more.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that people always ask, like, where do I get started? How do I get started? And do I need a lot of equipment? And that's one of the biggest things that people get confused. You don't really need to go out and spend a lot of money on starting your podcast. If it's something that you just want to do as a hobby or whatever, then use your phone. They're like all these apps. I'm like Buzzsprout has an app you can use it on your phone. Podbean, Anchor, where you can actually record a podcast just using your phone. And so all you really need is probably like earbuds or whatever connected to your phone, and that's how you can start. And if you want to do video, a lot of these phones have some great quality video as well.
Yep.
So get over that idea that you need expensive equipment to actually do a podcast. You don't.
Yeah, and a couple questions here, but I agree with you, Wise. I think that it's really simple. I mean, I recorded my very first one on an iPad, or actually not this phone, but the one I had before, and it's just an iPhone. iPhones, the one thing that you'll notice about Apple products nowadays is that they don't improve much over time, or any phone in general. They're not really improving. What they are improving is the camera, because everyone wants to take pictures, everyone wants to take video, and that's what they're using it for. So that's where the big improvements always come. More pixels, higher definition, and all better resolution, and that's always what you see with those phones. So you can do it from your phone. Now, microphone, I've got some AirPods here. They have a microphone in them. They're not the best, but they're better than just talking into the phone. Okay?
Yeah.
Any headphone you get is going to be better. Anything with the mouthpiece. I've been interviewed by people who use gaming headsets, and so with a microphone in it and headphones. So it's
they find ways to record. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just getting started. Michelle, I saw you say, and I'm looking for it real quick here, but it said that you're afraid to hear what your own voice will sound like. Well, I'm going to tell you what, that's
everybody.
Yeah, that is tough. It is. But I have had so many comments on my voice that I've had people ask me to do, commercials for them, and I have recorded some stuff for people. Wise is the same way. Every time I've interviewed Wise, everyone or heard Wise, everyone's like, "Man, you got a voice for radio." I mean,
Yeah,
same thing with my buddy Jay. Everyone wants to hear your voice, so you never know. I wouldn't be
it's
scared
crazy
to.
because Michelle, I was just like you. I was afraid. I'm like, who would want to listen to me? I sound horrible. Why would anybody want to listen to me? And then people hear me and they go, dude, you're crazy.
Yeah,
What's your problem? Like, you sound great. You have a radio voice. This is something you should be doing. And me, I was, again, it's me. It was just all in my head. That's why I named my podcast Stuck in My Mind, because for so long I was just stuck in my mind because I knew the things I needed to do, but just fear stopped me from wanting to do it. And that's
yeah,
something that a lot of us go through is we we're afraid to fail.
right. And failure, Michelle, like watching my videos, that's a big part of anything. That's a big part of anything. And you can be. Wise. I didn't know that that's why you called your podcast that, but it just made me get a cheesy grin because it makes so much sense, right? We can sit here and we could be stuck in our minds, and not let that barrier get through. It's just crazy. It's that's awesome, man.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
My daughter just passed me a package, but yeah, I'm like, I was always one of my things was like, damn, who would want to listen to me? I like my voice is horrible, and everybody goes, "What, you crazy dude? You have that voice. You have that Barry White part of it, or whatever it is that you have." And then when people actually have a conversation with me, they're like, "Yo, you're so easy to talk to.
Yeah.
It's easy to talk to you." And it's just because I just want to, I just be me. When me and you have a conversation, when we do our shows, we just talk.
Yep.
It's not like anything we plan anything. We just have a conversation, just have a great time, just being ourselves.
Yep. Um, Michelle, you were talking about that live yesterday. I don't. If you can go live, you can podcast. That's pretty much all I need to say. If you can go live, you can podcast, and you have no problem going live on TikTok. You do it multiple times. I think that is a more that
I
makes me
think
more.
I think personally that makes you much better
Yeah.
doing the lives. That that helps you build up your confidence. So continue to do the lives,
Yep.
and it should then after that it should just be cakewalk to record yourself because you're doing lives and you're building up that confidence and you're interacting with people and you're realizing that people want to hear what you have to say. And so once you start realizing that, recording yourself, it's so much easier.
Yep. I think Michelle, one of the things, and we haven't had a chance to really talk about this because I know you've been kind of in the hospital and you're going through a lot right now, but you could do a podcast on muscular dystrophy, and you could start telling your story. Like 3 or 4 episodes of telling your story, what you've been through, how you've done it. You've already done it because I've seen the videos on TikTok, so you've already done it. You can use those. You could even
To
just
start your podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could use those to start the podcast. Some podcasts, CC, I don't know how long your episodes are. It sounds like they're not super long, but like mine this morning was 27 minutes, which is I try to hit 30. Now, there are some podcasts that are 12. Wise's first one was 5. I think that over time, I want to hear that one. I got to go back and see if I can find that because I
Well,
want to.
it's so when I so after like episode 40 something probably, I redid it. I kept the first 5 minutes and then I added another 35 minutes of content. And like right after the first 5 minutes, I come on and it says, allow me to reintroduce myself. And I kick it into the intro and everything. And me and my nephew went and we did 30 minutes of it. And
the big
so Yeah, it was cool. But I
Yeah.
oh man, you'll find it. It's called introduction, reintroduction.
I think the big thing that I think that you have to understand, is that Wise and I have been doing this for a long time. We were not perfect at this from the get go.
Oh,
We still make
I'm still far
mistakes,
from perfect.
but what it takes is doing it. 160, like I just looked and I saw I had 163 episodes is what I've done so far. And and I would say it's probably more like 153 because I post classic ones on there, but that's what Buzzsprout says. And I'll repost things because if I go on a break, I want to make sure that someone has something to listen to, and maybe there's a new audience person who hasn't heard that story before. But if you listen to the very first one, it was recorded on a phone. Number two, number three, number four were, and then I got picked up by some friends of mine who were doing something, and that's when I started going live. Well, I was doing all these live videos on Instagram, and they're like, you could do it. You could just do it live on our show. We can run it for you. We can stream it, kind of like we're doing here. And
Yeah.
and then it went that way. And I've always I did live ones for probably 40, 50 episodes, and then I kind of separated from them, and I haven't always done live. Where'd Wise go?
I'm still here.
Your
I
computer
gotta
go to
figure out
sleep?
how to. So I'm using my Canon M50 right now, right? And so I'm still. I think it's on a timer. I think it records for like it stays on for 30 minutes and then it cuts and then it goes into black. So I have to
Okay.
fix that.
I was like, where'd he go?
Technical difficulties.
See?
Hey, listen,
See?
see, that's what happens.
There it
It
is
happens
right
even
there.
now,
Yeah.
even still now.
Yep. It still goes. I mean, this is I using this program that I use, and if you guys want, that's a whole nother episode, but we can talk about kind of the program that I use. Wise uses OBS. Is that what you use, Wise?
I use so many different things.
Okay.
Honestly, it's listen. Me personally, I'm always learning new stuff. Like
Yeah.
OBS, I love OBS. It's free, first of all, and you can do
Freeze up.
cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
You can definitely cool. Like I have, like what I have running, scrolling across the bottom.
Yep.
Um, if I had my green screen up, I could hook up my background. It's so much things I could do with OBS, and I could stream directly from OBS.
Yep.
So even if you don't want to purchase StreamYard or Ecamm or whatever it is, people can download OBS, connect it to your YouTube, and you can stream directly from OBS. So there's free platforms. I recommend everybody again do your research. Find platforms that are free but are great quality. Editing, I use Audacity. It's a free program.
Yep. And you can reach out. I mean, there's free programs that you use to edit all the time. I pay for mine, and the only reason I pay for mine is because I know that Jay uses it he usually edits my audio, and he has presets, and I can use those presets that he uses, and you can probably use it in Audacity too. But I'm kind of this person that once I learn how to do something and it's working without having to add more to it, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so I
So
appreciate knowing, like, trying, and I need to do that. So that's a good. I need to learn to do more.
I'm like me and you. We're not from the media realm. We didn't. That's not where we started at.
Right.
We were hardworking dudes. We had jobs. We still do have our jobs, but we weren't in radio. We weren't in TV. This isn't what we did for a living.
Yep.
And so we've learned a lot in the years that we've been doing this. Like a lot of the things that we've learned, we've self-taught ourselves. We went and did the research. YouTube. I use YouTube for everything when I have a question.
Yep.
Like if I don't know how to edit something, or if I'm having video problems or whatever, I'm
Right.
going to do the research, and I'm looking for what's going to help me improve my podcast or whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. I'm not always looking for. I'm always like, oh, there might be an easier way to do this that does cost a little bit of money, so that I can. For me, it's kind of like out of necessity of trying to streamline what I'm doing, because my day job is so demanding that I'm usually doing that, and luckily for me, like, I make a little bit of more money, and I'm able to kind of spin that in that direction. But what I'm saying is there are, like Wise is saying, there's so many free things that you can use. You don't have to have money. You don't have to spend it.
No,
Yeah. And if you
no, you
have
don't.
questions about what programs we use or anything like that, go ahead and throw those up there, or feel free to DM us. We are open to whatever conversation you want to have.
Because all right, so a lot of people they charge for courses like this, and for me, I just want to help people. I just want people to avoid the pitfalls that I went through because I didn't know anyone who was doing this. I've built these relationships. I've built a relationship with voice. I've built a relationship with other people in podcasting. So if I can help someone who hasn't built those relationships avoid the pitfalls that we've gone through, that's why we are doing this here. This is why we're once a month, every the first Wednesday of every month. This is our goal, is to be able to sit here and talk to people and hopefully share some of our knowledge so that you won't have to go through the issues that we went through.
Yep. I agree. And so Michelle was asking here something that I have to say about this one here. Michelle says, "How do you grab an audience?" Now, I'm not like Michelle. You know that I'm damn near close to 20,000 people on TikTok, 20,000 friends, followers, whatever you want to call them. But the fact of the matter is that those people like me for who I am, and that's who you want. You want to grab how I would say grab an audience is be you, be authentic, do what you do.
And
There's a gal that
Cece,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Cece actually added something like she says, I haven't been consistent and I lose listeners. That's key. Consistency is key. Because say, especially if your podcast is good and you're releasing an episode every couple of months, you're not going to gain any traction that way.
Yep.
People right now are consuming content at an all-time high. So being consistent is key.
And I think one of the things that you can do too, CC, with that is you can break that up. So say you record 30 minutes in one day, but you don't have time to or and you know you're not going to record next week, but you know you're going to record the following week. Well, then split it. Do 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Find a good stopping point in the middle, and then reset, and then start again. And you can add your intro and your outro to it, or you can just split it right in the middle. Hey, I'm going to come back with this. We're going to finish this up next week, or whatever. However you're going to do it. I am concerned with. Go ahead.
You always insert stuff like that. Like
Yep.
if you know you're not going to be able to record for a couple of weeks, but you have content, make it a split episode, part one, part two.
Yep.
You're exactly right. So, and again, it's 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 not easy. Like a lot of this is not easy, but it's you wanting to be consistent. It's you figuring out how to use your content as much as possible. That's why video is a big part of it. Like at first, my first 100 and something episodes, I didn't record video at all. I used StreamYard, but I wasn't pressing record to record the video. I was just recording the audio onto my Rodecaster Pro until I met up with a couple that were branding marketing specialists, and they said, "So you don't use video?" And I'm like, "No, not yet. I'm still working on it." And they kept saying, "So you're not using video?" And I'm like, "No." Until the point where I went, "You know what? Now I do video, yes." And I understood why they wanted me to do video. It's because it gives you more content. It gives you more things to use, so you can use the video on TikTok and use the video on Instagram. Use the little minute of key, like listen to your episode, find that golden nugget that you feel people are gonna gravitate to. That it's gonna be like, ooh, I needed to hear that one right there,
Yep.
and use it and just upload it. And there's so many different things, like me and Wes, that the clip Wes put up of the episode we had. I thought that was an amazing clip.
Yeah.
And
And you can do those like I have someone do that for me, but you can do a clip like that on Headliner, which is free. You download the app,
Yes.
you go that it downloads your podcast onto the app, and you just scrub through there, find where it's at. You can throw a static image on there. You can throw, if you have video on there, and it'll play the clip, and you can post it on Instagram. Make sure your Instagram's linked to your Facebook, and then you can post that clip to TikTok too. I mean, that's the thing. It's like reusing. You know, we talked about that 20 pieces of content. One of the things Gary Vee talked about was, well, one piece of content can go on 5 platforms and be 5 pieces of content, right? So it's super simple to get it there if that's what you're trying to do. But I think the biggest thing is just doing it. And you know, one of the things I like about Buzzsprouts, and I don't know if Anchor can do it, and I'm pretty sure Podbean does, but I could take this phone right here and I could record a video on my phone, and then I could airdrop it to my computer, or I could even drag and drop it into Buzzsprout, the video, and it pulls the video off, leaves the audio on there. So there's not really any excuse to not do it. You know, you can take every video you've ever made if it's on your phone and post it in there. It's pretty easy.
Yep. And again, there are so many free things out there to use. Like with Headliner, it gives you 5 free. You can do 5 little clips for the month. So if you're releasing 1 episode a week, that gives you four clips you can use from each episode, that you like, a clip you're using from each episode. But find that one clip that you know that if someone hears it, it's gonna be, oh man, that was a good nugget. That was something people needed to hear.
The thing is if it makes you think, then it probably makes them think.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just remember that when you're looking for those clips. I think it's a great marketing tool to, you know, just have that out there, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Wise, let's wrap this up here. We're gonna do this. We might end up doing it more. You never know. But we're gonna start out with one day a month, and
Once a month. Yeah, we start off once a month, and it's so like if you want to see us more, definitely let us know. We'll work something out. If you feel that you're gaining something from it, and we should do more for people, let us know. We're definitely that's what we want. We want to help as many people as possible. That is our goal.
And one thing that I would say is, let's, you know, I'm going to give you my email address, Wise. I don't know if you want to or not, but you guys can email me questions, and Wise and I can discuss those as throughout the month as we're waiting for the next one to happen. And we can combine, you know, when we start getting more questions than we have to answer, then maybe we got to do another show, you know, but I think that's what it is. So if you want to email me Wes, WES, at westankersley.com, WESTANKERSLEY.com, and hit me up on social media, wherever. Wise, you can do the same if you want.
You can hit me up at realwiseproductions@gmail.com, and if you got a message or anything you want us to discuss, either email me or Wes, or send us a DM. We are more than willing to help.
Yep. And we have a bunch of resources, you know. I know some people, if you're looking for editing, Wise edits stuff. There's a lot of people that Wise is connected with. He has his own radio station that he does a lot of the stuff with, a lot of different people who do some awesome stuff. Wise, you can do logos and things like that, right? Everything that you need.
Yeah, we do. That's one thing. People want, like, when they first started, they think that their podcast is going to be this big thing and they're going to get monetized fast and everything. I didn't get monetized through my podcast. I made money other ways. Like, I started using Canva.
Yep.
Canva is a lifesaver for me. I've made all my cover art, all my thumbnails, anything that I need, Canva's created for me. I'm in love. Like, when this logo, I made it through Fiverr. My intro and outro, I made it through Fiverr. But then once I really started getting into podcasting and taking courses and listening to people and them telling me, hey, use this free app, use this free app, use that. And once you start learning how to use these things, you're like, oh man, I want to try the pro version.
Yep.
And you purchase the pro version, and it's again, you don't have to, but me, I did it because this is my purpose. This is what I want to do. And I felt that in order for me to give my audience the proper, the best quality possible, I needed to invest in myself.
And
So
the big thing that Wise is saying there though too is understand that we all started somewhere. My very first logo was created by someone who didn't know how to make logos. My second one was created by another guy, and the same guy who created my first or my second one created this one right here that I use on everything. So it's one of those things where you go through. You can't be afraid to put yourself out there. Just start writing things down.
start somewhere.
Yeah, start writing. You know, Michelle, one of my biggest things, CC, I know what you're going through, and we definitely can talk about that too. But Michelle, one of the things I'd say is just start writing down. Episode 1's going to be about this, and then just talk. It doesn't matter. Episode 2 is going to be about this. Just talk. It doesn't matter. Episode 3 is going to be about this. Just talk. It doesn't matter. And next thing you know, you're going to have 15 episodes out, and you're going to be like, hey, this is getting better. And this didn't work this time, and this is what I'm going to do this time, and just improve. If you go and you look through my Instagram TV, my IGTV, and scroll all the way down to the very bottom, it's where it all started. It started with me answering 3 questions because I was listening to Andy Richter's 3 Questions podcast, and I answered, who are you? Where are you going? Or where are you from? Where are you going? And I answered those 3 questions on a live, and the next thing I know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to have a podcast. So just start.
Just press record. Yeah, that's where you start.
And we're here to help. So, Wise, did you do an episode? We talked a little bit. Did you have an episode this week you want to tell anyone about?
Let's see. Actually, I got to release an episode tomorrow, but you can definitely check out my podcast on every major platform. Stuck in My Mind. Episode 147 is out, and you can go to my YouTube channel and check out my latest episode, which I released last week. I'm about to release another one this week. But yeah.
This week I did a classic episode because my interview last week had to reschedule. So my interview is with Desiree Steinbroner, who I interviewed before, but she runs a spirits. She owns Old Boise Gin, Old Boise Vodka here. And if you guys know me, you know I like Koenig Bourbon, and that's who distills it. So super cool interview with her. It was the very first one I did in a studio. And then since then, we're waiting. I'm going to build my own studio.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, don't be afraid to DM us. If you have any questions, make sure you email us, let us know. We would love to help you get this going. And so until, a month away, Wise, we'll hit this up again.
Yeah. It might be soon. I don't know, because I enjoyed this. So
yeah, same here. I think it's great. We got to get some questions going. So make sure that you share this out. And if you have questions.
So yes, the quicker y'all send us, those questions and stuff, we might just go release something sooner. Who knows?
Yep, for real. All right, man. Well, we'll talk soon. Michelle, CC, thanks for hanging.